government was accused of breaking a promise.
When the UDR was first proposed, Mr. Chairman, as a replacement for the then infamous B specials, we were assured that no bigots, criminal elements or undesirables would get through this strict vetting procedure. Obviously, Mr. Chairman, this vetting procedure has broken down.
Until he became an MP in 1983, Ken McGuinness was a major in the UDR. He concedes that vetting loopholes may have allowed in unsuitable recruits.
Again and again, I'm asked if my name can be used as a referee. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I refuse. But it doesn't really matter whether I do or not, because I'm seldom approached and asked for my opinion. Yet I'm much more likely to know the background of any person wishing to join the regiment, whether there is stability or instability, temperamental stability or instability within the family that may manifest itself when that person comes under pressure. So I criticise and have done so quite openly the vetting procedure, not insofar as it goes, but because I don't believe it goes far enough.
This man is a former UDR soldier who was convicted of a terrorist offence carried out on behalf of the paramilitary UDA. Even the most cursory check into his background would have revealed that his body was tattooed with a UDA gunman, but this slipped through the vetting system.
Did you give referees? Were you asked to provide references?
Yes, I was. I was asked to provide 3 references.
Did the UDR ever come and question those people about you, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Were they relatives, neighbours or school teacher or what?
One was a reverend and one was a policeman.
While in the UDR, the man helped plan a weapons raid from his UDR base. More than 600 weapons have been stolen from different UDR bases by soldiers and pastor loyalist terrorists. This is the home of A Company of the UDR's 1-9 battalion in Ballymena. Just how lax vetting and screening in the UDR has been is shown by a case here investigated by Panorama. For 2 years, a UVF terrorist cell operated here undetected. 7 members of one platoon, about a third of its strength, were involved. Panorama has learned that security was so slack, the area UVF commander had frequent access to a bar inside this base. This picture shows the UVF man with 2 UDR soldiers whom he recruited as terrorists. He visited the army bar for several months before the alarm was raised, even though he had known terrorist connections and a firearms conviction. This UVF man gives one reason why loyalist paramilitaries try to recruit UDR soldiers.
In what way did membership of the UDR assist your membership of the UVF?
One of the main ways that helped was the fact that we could move weapons. With the UDR man driving the car, he would get through the checkpoint, a police checkpoint, if he showed his pass. He wasn't as likely to be stopped and searched.
The 7 members of the Ballymena platoon were convicted of a range of terrorist offences in 1987, including manslaughter, robbery, illegal possession of firearms and passing information to the UVF. The rest of the platoon said they'd never suspected anything was going on, even though they'd been on duty together regularly. But Panorama has learned that one officer in the regiment said after the arrests, "Ulster will one day be grateful to these men." We have confirmed the remark with the soldier to whom it was made. The soldier was so appalled by what he'd heard, he reported the officer to his superiors. But no action was taken, and the officer remains in the regiment today.
Well, may I say, that is pure hearsay, a remark which was allegedly made 7 years ago. Whoever said that, you must have a remarkable memory, and I certainly hope it's not true.
The Army claims vetting of soldiers joining and serving in the regiment has been increasingly tightened. But, as late as 1973, it was possible to be a joint member of the UDR and the paramilitary group the UDA. The Army won't say exactly when this stopped. In 1977, an Army press statement said it was confident vetting was as fair and effective as it could be. in 1980, the army dismissed allegations of paramilitary infiltration as insidious propaganda. In 1988, the UDR announced every serving soldier would be screened every 6 months. But an investigation of the circumstances of Lachlan McGinn's murder last August, which sparked off the Stevens inquiry, suggests the vetting system was still seriously flawed. Lachlan McGinn lived in a small farming town called Rathfriland. The police believe he gathered intelligence for the IRA. In this divided community, the symbols of loyalism are everywhere. Lachlan McGinn was a Catholic. He worked in his father's poultry business, delivering chickens to shops and restaurants across Northern Ireland. In 1981, when Lachlan McGinn was 20, the police took him in for questioning. On his release, he went to see his mother.
He was very pale and very quiet. And I asked him what was the matter. And he told me that the police had blackmailed him, what they called blackmailed him, offered him money for to infiltrate, to get into the IRA, to infiltrate the IRA and become an informer. And he was very, very frightened, scared, very scared.
Panorama has learned that Lachlan McGinn dictated an account of his interrogation to his wife immediately after he was released. In it, he claims that the police threatened he would be harassed and perhaps shot if he didn't become an informer.
If I didn't do it, they said the UDR and police would harass me all the time. They said that they would put the word round that I was in the IRA. They said that there are plenty of good loyalist Protestants who would like to take a shot at me if they thought I was involved in the IRA.
Lachlan McGinn's family say he didn't become an informer and that both police predictions that he would be harassed and shot came true. The family say the security forces sometimes scattered the contents of their car boot on the road. Mrs. McGinn was stopped so often she gave up driving. On occasions, Lachlan McGinn was stopped several times within a few hundred yards. In the last 20 months of his life, he was prosecuted 12 times for traffic offences. On the 9th of November 1988, Lachlan McGinn claimed his life was threatened when he was stopped outside Newry by a UDR patrol.
He was a very nervous, very agitated and very concerned man. And he asked us to write in specific terms and to outline the exact threat that had been made to his life. And if I might quote from the letter which we wrote at the time, quote the words which were used by the UDR soldier to Mr. McGinn. He said, quote, "I have a wee word of warning. I'll stiff you when I get the chance," unquote. Now in Northern Ireland parlance, stiff means I'll kill you when I get the chance.
This confidential security force document shows special branch intelligence from several sources that Lachlan McGinn had been heavily traced as a provisional IRA suspect. He was never charged, but at some stage the document was leaked to loyalist terrorists. Some weeks before Lachlan McGinn was shot, a stranger on a motorbike was seen near his council estate asking neighbours about his movements. In the early hours of August the 25th, Lachlan McGinn and his wife were watching television. Their 4 children were asleep upstairs. A car carrying a gunman pulled into the McGinn's estate. The time was a few minutes before 1 o'clock. The gunman ran to the front window, smashed the glass, and began firing. Neighbours were woken by the commotion, as this woman's account recalls.
My husband jumped up and said, "They're shooting. There's somebody shooting someone." I opened the window and I could smell all the gun smoke. Little Jenny came, Maureen and Lockie's daughter. She was screaming, "Please help my daddy. He's bleeding everywhere. Help my daddy." And I got there I just followed the trail of blood, and he was at the top of the stairs.
I expected it from 1981. It's as if someone was sitting with their finger on the trigger from 1981.